Alright, so in this lesson, we will complete a square trinomial. Um, we'll get into it a little bit more, but these aren't really trinomials in the traditional sense at all. These aren't really trinomials, but for all intents and purposes today, we're going to deal with trinomials. Now, before we complete a square trinomial, let's take ourselves back to what a square is. So, for instance, 4 squared is 4 times 4, which is 16. Not 4 times 2, but 4 times 4. So that means 16 is a perfect square because 4 times 4 is 16. 6 squared is 6 times 6, which is 36. That means 36 is a perfect square because 6 times 6 is 36. Lastly, we have negative 3 squared, which is negative 3 times negative 3. And a negative times a negative is a positive 9. So 9 is a perfect square because negative 3 times negative 3 is positive 9. Alright, so keep thinking about everything in terms of squares. Like same thing times same thing. So 2 plus 3 squared is really 2 plus 3 times 2 plus 3. We know that 2 times 2 is 4, which is how they got the 4. We know 2 times 3 is 6, which is how they got the plus 6. 3 times 2 is 6, that's how they got the other 6. And 3 times 3 is 9. Now, you can see that they did the same thing on each of these. They rewrote it, and then we rewrote it using distribution. So we distributed, we multiplied out, and we ended up with all these. Now, let's go back to our original. 2 plus 3 times 2 plus 3 gives us 4 plus 6 plus 6 plus 9. We want to make these into something like where there's 3 terms, like trinomials. So 3 terms, 1, 2, 3. In order to do that, what I did is I combined the 6 and the 6, the 2 terms that were the same, the middle ones. If you look here, we combined our 2 middle terms, or our 2 like same terms, so to speak, like plus 20 is plus 40, minus 24 minus 24 minus 48. That will give us 3 terms, which is a trinomial. 3 terms. And same for the last one. Now, let's go back to this original one again. 2 plus 3 squared ended up with 4 plus 12 plus 9. That means that 4 plus 12 plus 9 is a perfect square, so to speak. Because 2, let me get rid of that. Because 2 plus 3 times 2 plus 3 can be expressed as 4 plus 12 plus 9. Let's try it again. So 4 plus 5 to the second power is 4 plus 5 plus 4 plus 5. And we got 16 plus 40 plus 25. That means 16 plus 40 plus 25 is a perfect square because the same thing, which is 4 plus 5, times the same thing, which is 4 plus 5, can be expressed as 16 plus 40 plus 25. Now, there must be an easier way to get from our original expression all the way down to our trinomial. There must be a quicker way. Now, let's think about this as a plus b to the second power. So that's a, this is b. A is 4, b is 5. A is 6, b is negative 4, because it's minus 4. How do we get from here all the way down here? Well, 2 times 2 is 4, but 4 times 2 is not 16. 6 times 2 is not 36. But 4 times 4 is 16. And 6 times 6 is 36. So if you notice, this a, this first number, a, when you multiply it by the same number, we square it, you get this first term. 4 times 4 is 16. 6 times 6 is 36. 2 times 2 is 4. And it works for this last term, or this b also. So positive 3 times positive 3 gives us 9. 5 times 5 gives us 25. Negative 4 times negative 4 gives us positive 16. So basically, this first term right here, this a, you can describe it, the first term, if this is a, is just a squared. Is a times a. You multiply it by the same thing, which is a squared. We also noticed that this third term here, this third term, was just b times b, like b squared. So I'm going to scroll down here a little bit. Hopefully I can make it. So b times b was b squared. But how do we get this middle one, this 12? How do I get this 40? How do I get this negative or minus 48? Now if I look here, I have 2 6s. I have 2 20s. I have 2 minus 24s or negative 24s. How did I get that? Well, I actually did a. Remember, this is a and this is b. This is a and b. I did a times b to get 6. And then I did b times a to get the other 6. I multiplied a times b. Remember, this is a, b, a times b gave me 20. B times a gave me 20. So in reality, I multiplied a times b and b times a, but I'm going to write that as a times b. And I put them together. So 2 times 3 and 3 times 2, 6 and 6 give me 12. 4 times 5 and 5 times 4 both give me 20. Put them together, you get 40. So I multiplied I could just go back to my original expression. So 2 plus 3, 2 times 3 is 6. 6 times 2 is 12. 4 times 5 is 20. 20 times 2 is 40. 6 times negative 4 is negative 24. Negative 24 times 2 is negative 48. So I can express the second term as 2 of a, b, 2 of both of them multiplied. All right, this seems a little weird, right? But it's fine. Just trust me. You'll see. I'm going to simplify it for you, so to speak. So in this one, we can just sneak down to the answer by doing 3 times 3 is 9. 4 times 4 is 16, positive 16. Remember, how do I get this middle term? If I look here, a times b plus a times b, I just need 2 of them. Remember, this is a, this is b. 3 times 4 is 12. If I have 2 of them, I get 24. So if I did all that work with rewriting, I would just end up at 9 plus 24 plus 16. Let's try this one. 4 times 4 is 16. If you want me, I can write that like that. 5 times 5 is 25. Now remember, I'm gonna have to multiply 4 times 5 and 5 times 4. So it's really 4 times 5 is 20, and I have 2 of them. So I get 40, positive 40. Try it again. 2 times 2 is 4. Negative 3 times negative 3 is positive 9. Remember, I'm going to multiply a and b and a, put them together. So 2 times negative 3 is negative 6. Remember, I have 2 of them, or I can multiply by 2, right? Instead of stacking them like this, I get negative 12. So minus 12. Try it again. 3 times 3 is 9. Negative 4 times negative 4 is positive 16. Remember, this is a and b, so 3 times negative 4 is negative 12. But remember, I'm going to have 2 of them. Times 2 is negative 24, so minus 24. I think y'all sort of get the point. Let me just jump to this one. Negative 4 times negative 4 is positive 16. Negative 2 times negative 2 is positive 4. Remember, so I need to multiply negative 4 times negative 2 is positive 8. I have 2 of them. I get 16, positive 16, so plus 16. All right, so let's